Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What is up? What is up? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your man once again, Jelani JB Bodie, host of this thing called the Wait a Minute Show. Back in the building. It's a sports show, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't, figured out, well, we talk about some other stuff as well, but we primarily talk about sports here, and that's what we're going to talk about. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about with the NFL. We're going to get into some coaching stuff here in just a moment. But also, before we do all of that, make sure like, subscribe, turn on those notifications if you have not already. Follow your boy, share it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. So, uh, we were going to, kick off with wild card weekend and all that stuff, but we're going to get to that in just a second, or I'm going to get to that in just a second. But stuff that transpired, especially today. Today is what, Monday, that happened right before we were getting ready to come on, and got to talk about it, right? So we got to take a little bit of a pivot, change it up a little bit. And news that just came out. Well, one was the worst kept secret in the world, which was Mike Vrabel being hired by the New England Patriots. So that was made official, and he is now the new coach for the New England Patriots. So I'm not surprised on that. I think it's a good move for the New England Patriots. Mike Vrabel did a pretty good job with what he had at Tennessee, and I just think going into the situation where they feel that they have found their quarterback in Drake May, that part that you normally try and figure it out, we got that part figured out. So now we just got to get the pieces and put the other guys with it. You got a lot of cap space, and you got the fourth overall pick in the draft. So he's sitting in a good spot, and he's a former Patriot. So the fans I'm sure, are loving it. They're going to buy in. He's going to fit the culture. He's going to absolutely preach the culture, there. The only thing I don't like about it, it came at the expense of Jared Mayo, right? And Jared Mayo, they're talking about, well, he wasn't as ready as they thought, he was. And I get it, but I also feel like, that kind of hurts him going into the future, because now other teams are going to look at it and say, are they going to look at it and just say, hey, you know what? New England made a mistake? Probably not. They're probably going to, hold it against Jared a little bit. But congratulations to Mike Vrabel. Makes sense. I understand, why they did it. We also got Dallas news, right? Mike McCarthy, both sides have agreed to part ways mutually after not coming to a contract agreement. And Mike McCarthy is going to be able to go wherever it is that he wants to go. Now, I do believe that Mike McCarthy is going to end up somewhere pretty quick. There's going to be clubs that want him. It's already been talked about where you have the Bears and the Saints. I would probably possibly throw in the Raiders there. It's all about how Brady kind of feels, about it. But then you still have some other teams. I think the Jets. You need to do your due diligence, and speak with him, as well as well as with other teams, on it. So Mike is going to have it, and I don't think any of this had to do with money. I think a lot of this, as far as like why they're parting ways, is that Mike McCarthy has probably told them what other coaches have told the Dallas Cowboys before, is that I need more leeway. I need more control. And we already know Jerry Jones don't want to do that. Jerry Jones is not going to do that. And if not Jerry Jones making so much money for the owners, who knows, what could transpire, in Dallas. Nobody's going to try and push Jerry out because he's good for business, right? And whatever you're going to do with your team, Jerry, you do with your team, and y'all keep, doing whatever it is. So I just think this is another coach that went there and had to play the game, and they just got tired of playing the game. So Mike McCarthy will be, all right. So those two are things that jumped off in the NFL. But what we really want to talk about, what we want to get into, is wild card weekend, right? So wild card weekend in the NFL kicked off, and I guess you could say it did not disappoint, because a lot of stuff happened how people felt. Now, right now, I'm sitting. Um, my picks weren't the greatest, but I got some of them right. And the one that I struggled with was the Buffalo and Denver one, right? I know Buffalo fans are going to be like, "Oh, how could you pick Denver?" Listen, if you saw the previous episode, and if you haven't, go back and check it. I said I had to pick an upset, right? The upset. Picking one of these other teams to beat one of the other teams that Baltimore or Philly or Washington or anything like that. Like eh, those are kind of no-brainers, when it comes to that. But I wanted to have a splash, and I said if there's any team that could make a splash where everyone would go crazy if there was an upset, it would have been Denver versus Buffalo. I didn't say Denver just had it as a lot, but that's what I did. So I'm sorry if you're mad at me, Buffalo fans. But Baltimore took care of business. They made Pittsburgh look like a 500 team or a team that shouldn't even have been in the playoffs, beating them 28 to 14. No one could stop, Derrick Henry. So at this point, we already talked about a couple other coaches. We want to talk about the Pittsburgh coach, which is Mike Tomlin. And people are talking about maybe it's time for Mike to go. And I understand why people would say that because, the whole talk of the standard is the standard, the whole talk, of this is a result-based business and because how the NFL normally works, any other coach would have been already gone because they can't win. I think they've lost six opening rounds in the playoffs straight. So I get it. I totally get it. I just don't think Pittsburgh is probably ready to move on because if you look at the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that in the last 75 years, probably or something like that, they've only had three coaches: Mike Tomlin, Bill Cowher, and Chuck Noll. So they really don't move off coaches, like that. So Mike Tomlin could easily be back. Now, if he's not, obviously the world is going to go crazy and he's going to have a job tomorrow if he wants to. But Baltimore took care of business as I expected them to take care of business. You got Houston versus the Chargers. Houston, look, Chargers, they short circuit. You can't turn the ball over in the playoffs four times and think you're gonna win. You give CJ Stroud enough chances, he's gonna make you pay. You give Joe Mixon enough chances, he's gonna make you pay, and that's exactly what they did. And the defense was flying around the ball. Philly versus Green Bay. I This is a team that I thought Green Bay could give Philly a run for their money. But again, I just talked about turnovers, right? And again, Jordan Love, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that, and when he's this, it's great. When he's that, it's like wow. So three turnovers, you can't do that in the playoffs. We already know that. Uh, Philly didn't play the greatest game, themselves. Saquon got over 100 yards, but the mistakes that was made by Green Bay totally helped out that situation. And their defense, Green Bay defense was playing really, really, really well in that game. You can't expect them to hold the fort down and you only put up 10 points, right? They needed some offensive help and they didn't get that. The other game, which was a nail biter, a doink, if you will, was Tampa Bay versus Washington. Now, I did have Tampa Bay winning that game. I felt that Washington had a chance of winning that, and they won it exactly how I would have thought that they would have won it. And uh, uh, Tampa Bay, they shot themselves in the foot time and time after. And again, one of those things. You got a guy in Jaden Daniels who has made teams pay over the last 6 7 weeks when you keep giving him an opportunity. And that's exactly what happened. Tampa just kept giving them opportunities and kept shooting themselves in the foot, and then they took advantage of it. So props to Washington. So these teams, they're going to be, headed to the divisional round. So this is going to be really interesting because we got the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens, which is going to be very interesting. Then you're going to have my Detroit Lions taking on Washington Commanders. So that's going to be a game that Detroit cannot take lightly because Jaden is on one at this point. So you got to be careful with that. Kansas City is going to take on Houston. And then Philly will take on the winner of tonight's game, which will be the Rams versus the Vikes. So I think I got the Rams winning this. Yeah, I did pick the Rams in a close one on this. This was I think my toughest match to pick because I was just like I could see how both teams, could win this. And props to Minnesota for what they've done, and props to the Rams for what they've done. So I think with this, it goes to the team or the quarterback We talk about mistakes, we talk about interceptions. So the quarterback that has the least interceptions will win this game, and I think it'll be Matthew Stafford, right? So another one, another nail biter, another close one on it. So we'll see if I'm right about that. We got other championship stuff popping up, and that is the college football championship. So we got two teams. Two teams are going to enter. Only one is going to exit. And we have Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame versus Ohio State for the chip, for it all, right? And I talked about in the previous games. I got those right. I picked Notre Dame and I picked Ohio State to show up in the championship game. And I'm just going to be honest, right? You already see in the background, I'm a Michigan fan. I'm a Michigan fan. Go blue. Wolverines always enjoy beating Ohio State and always enjoy seeing Ohio State lose. But Notre Dame is also a team. I'm like, if you're a Wolverine fan, you'll understand. So it's like, which one am I going to pick? But honestly, I'm going to take that out. Stop being, a Michigan fan. But really, with these two teams, I just think the team that's better prepared, the team that's going to not make the mistakes or makes the least amount of mistakes. I'm going to go with Ohio State in this. I say Ohio State was on a mission from the get-go. They have been on that. They have won different ways. We've seen that over this college football playoffs of what they've been doing. And I just think that they find another way. But I think they get this done on defense, right? I think they're going to make it a nightmare for Riley Leonard and the Notre Dame offensive line. I think the run game is probably going to get slowed down. Maybe they can do something, in the passing game, but I think this is where it's going to come from. I think it's going to come from the defensive side of the ball, and then they will run the ball with Henderson to set the tone. Now, don't leave out the kid Smith, the freshman, but in big games like this, not all the time you get a performance out of your freshman. It could happen. Don't get me wrong. That's how talented, he is. But I just think on the defensive side of this ball, that's where they're going to set the tone. And that's where they're going to lean on and put their offense in short yardage situations. I'm going to go ahead and predict that they have one block punt. It won't be for a touchdown or anything like that. But impact game, impact plays, explosive plays on the defensive side and special teams is where I see that they will get this. So I'm going to say it right now that your national champion will be the Ohio State Buckeyes. And that's taking out all the, of course, we say we did it first, but no. Ohio State has done, exactly what they needed to do. And Ryan Day is going to be able to get the critics off his back, at least for the championship part. He's still got to, beat Michigan, but that's not bad to win the national championship first and then try and take down my Wolverines. I'm not going to say that's going to happen, but those are the two that are in. One is going to leave, and I think it's the Ohio State Buckeyes. So let's jump back into to the pros, right? And football, NFL football, and these playoffs. So we're talking about the wild cards, which we'll be talking about the divisional round next week, and going into the playoffs. And I said this was a travesty, and this is crazy that we were even doing this. Is that there's a 14-win team that's a fifth seed, which is the Minnesota Vikings. And I just think it's crazy that they are a fifth seed where you have other seeds that have less record just because they won their division. And we've seen this before. So the NFL is possibly looking into making some changes to where, yeah, if you win your division, you still get in the playoffs, but you're not necessarily hosting a home game. And this was a prime example where the Rams was going to have a home game, and unfortunately, is due to the fires that's happening, in Los Angeles. And our prayers with the Wait a Minute show is out there for those folks as well. They're going to have they would have had a home game against a 14-win team. That's crazy. It's like, what are we playing for then? Why are we winning all these games and not being rewarded, with a home game? And then here's the even crazier part on it is that the Minnesota Vikings, if they win this game against the Rams and the Lions lose to Washington, they go on the road because Philly is the second overall seed in this because of the division. So they got to go on the road. On here. I'm sorry if I said if Washington, if Detroit wins, they still got to go on the road and play Philadelphia. Then they would have to go on the road again to play the Lions as well. So 3 road games for a 14-win team. That's crazy. So I do really think that they need to look at it. Yes, you can still get into, you can get into the playoffs, but just because if you, to me, you shouldn't be rewarded with a home game. If we've seen teams, we've seen the NFC South get in with a team less than 500, and then they host a home game, right, for the playoffs. Yeah, something's wrong with that. So I do really do think they need to look at that. Hopefully they get that changed and updated because teams are they're sweating, they're bleeding and tears and all that stuff, just like anybody else, and they should be rewarded as such. So hopefully that they change that, right? So what do you think about it? Tell me what you think. You can put it down in the comment section as well. Anything that I've talked about, put it in the comment section. I'll reply back to it. If you need to talk about something else or you want me to talk about something else specifically, then hit me up on the Wait a Minute Show at gmail.com, right? So I told you, we talk about sports, but then we also talk about other stuff from time to time. And this is one of those other things from time to time. So if you don't know, here in the Lions Den studios, we actually host a show from Atlanta, right? And just recently, Atlanta had some bit of snow, if you will, right? So there was snow in Atlanta, and people were just like, we haven't seen it before, or we haven't seen it in a while. I had to make sure I took my daughter out there as well because she was like, yo, we need to go out there and test this snow out and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, we're going to test it. We're going to test the snow out. But you already know somebody got to do more than enough that's out there. So check this out with people in Atlanta on a snow day. Now, you got this woman snowman with the Louis, but look who the BBL, not the BBL snow woman. What are we doing? And this right here, how do you organize a block party for the snow? This right here, I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with that at all. You got ATVs, you got an opportunity to use them. Yeah, make use of them. Go out there, have a little fun. Be careful though. And speaking of being careful, this one right here and the next one that you're gonna see, I think you're doing a little bit too much there, partner. I see your control or whatever, but you and the next one right here, y'all must have just finished watching Fast and Furious, and both of y'all think y'all down Toretto or whatever, because that's just crazy. Now, right here, there's a house dog versus a street dog. Look at this man. And we're not even going to talk. Well, yes, we are. The man that is on a canoe or whatever that is, whose idea was that? Why did they say, let's go out and I'll pull you on the back of this truck? And that dog is chasing after them. And last but definitely not least this is what I don't get. You're on skis. You're out in Atlanta. No, don't give them the thumbs up. Don't give them the rah, rah, rah. Because guess what? I've been snowboard, but I've been skiing before. You go downhill and then you jump on the ski lift and go back up. There's no ski lift. How is this brother getting back up? You got to unhitch those, strap them to your back or something, and then, go back wherever you came from. So yeah, going downhill, yeah, that's cool. That's fun and all that stuff. How you going to get back, bro? How you going to get back? You going to walk it back sideways or whatever? Maybe somebody pick them up. I don't know. But that's how it goes down in the ATL when it snows around here. So everybody, hopefully they were safe out there because we lost a little power from here and there and all that stuff. But looked like people were having fun out there in Atlanta. So we probably won't see this for another 5, 6, 7, years. So hopefully everybody got it, out of their system. So I'm going to go ahead, get ready to get up out of here. One thing I do want to talk about, though, before I get up out of here is props to Jim Murphy. Holla at Jim Murphy. If you don't know who Jim Murphy is, if you were watching the Philadelphia Green Bay game, we saw AJ Brown, the cameras or the TV caught AJ Brown reading a book, Willie Beeman style, on the sideline, right? So you know they're gonna find out what's going on. Before the game even ended, they already had zoomed in, saw what the book name was and who the author was. And once when I saw that, I said, "Got him, got him." Jim, it's time to shake your tail feather because just like I anticipated, now this book is number one on the Amazon bestseller list. Just like that, from it. So, hey, props to Jim. I read it came out in 2009 and they revised it in 2020. So I guess making money. Maybe hopefully it's making some money, on that. I don't know if AJ gonna get, a cut of that. Maybe, possibly, but perhaps, possibly, yeah. But yeah, it's just like that. Things can change overnight, for somebody. But hopefully everything is good for y'all. Y'all have had a good start of the year. We got a game again tonight, Rams versus Vikings. And then next week we'll talk about the divisional round. We'll talk about other stuff. Hopefully we won't be talking about snow because I've had enough and I've seen enough that I don't need to, do that again, especially being from the state of Michigan. But I'm gonna holler at y'all later, man, and we'll do it like we always do. So two things as always: stay positive and push forward. I'll holler at y'all later.